NFL training camps are officially underway. I can't believe that the summer here is almost over, and we're here to talk some Philadelphia Eagles football with Locked On Eagles host Gino Camilleri. Gino, how are you doing today?
Fantastic, Cal. Honestly, anytime there's Eagles football about and I see the beat reporters tweeting out a 10-second clip and just hearing that Jalen Hurts is having a good day today, it's always fun to see football back in the air. And I think we're all ready to see some Philadelphia Eagles actually going out on the field and hitting each other. It's been so long since the fans were there. They're back in training camp. It's good to see that. It's just a very exciting time for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Before we get specifically Eagles, I think the biggest national conversation that has a little bit to do with the Eagles right now surrounds Deshaun Watson. So I just want to know, what are the chances that you think he is a member of the Philadelphia Eagles by week 1 of this season?
Well, I would say that obviously everything that's legal has to get filtered out before they make any type of transaction in that regard. And anytime you're investing assets in somebody who comes from an accounting background, if you're going to put money into an investment, you got to make sure it's safe. And right now, Deshaun Watson, there's a lot of hesitation to acquire him for good reason. I mean, the off-field stuff needs to get figured out. I would say the way they've talked about Jalen Hurts, but at the same time, this Deshaun Watson rumor won't go away. I'd give it like a 25% chance. I mean, it all depends legally how things turn out. And I don't know if it's looking good for him at the moment, but I would say with what we have in Jalen Hurts, I think it's inspiring and we shouldn't kind of knock him off before he really gets a chance anyway. So let's go 25%, but 100% chance that Jalen Hurts succeeds. I like that.
Just talking about, possible transactions. Another one that has been floated for a very long time is a possible Zach Ertz trade. Obviously, he reported to the team yesterday with some bleach blonde hair. What do you think the chances are that he stays on this roster for week 1?
So I'm a big proponent of listening to what Howie Roseman says, because if you just follow what he says throughout the offseason and continually into the season, he usually sticks to his talking points. And his message the whole time has been Zach Ertz is going to be a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. And unless somebody comes right now and just blows them out of the water with a deal that they can't pass up, I believe that Zach Ertz is going to be here. One, because he's a big piece in helping out a young quarterback. Because anytime there's a young quarterback, you want to have a reliable tight end, just somebody that they could see over the middle of the field. You could dump off the ball to them if things get into a sticky situation. And at the same time, Dallas Goedert, as good of a player as we believe he is and we've seen from him, he also has question marks about being able to stay on the field. So to me, it's a win-win if Zach is on the team because you're going to help out everybody else around them. He's still a top-notch football player. And two, I think it only helps kind of solidify that if there is any adverse situations between front office and players, if they talk things out, it is good to see that they can make things work. Because coming off of Carson Wentz, where it kind of seemed that the doors were shut on any possibility of things happening, it's good to see a situation in Zach Ertz, which was very malleable for quite some time, is now kind of mending itself and coming back to normal, which we like to see because we don't want situations like Green Bay is in right now where Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams are just absolutely thrashing their front office. Still things that come out of the Eagles front office and all the players, they still say that they appreciate Howie, they appreciate what's going on in Philadelphia. So as long as good things are coming out, I'm okay with that. And Zach Ertz is a very big talking point when it comes to that.
Last trade I'm going to throw out there, and this one is new that I had just seen floated out there today. I believe it was Jeff McLean, and he floated out the possibility of, instead of trading Ertz, trading Dallas Goedert this training camp. What do you think the chances are of that?
I would say it's easier to do. He's still on that rookie deal. Teams could kind of maneuver the cap how they want to going into the next season with him. He would cost more than Zach Ertz because he's younger, he is quicker, he's, in my opinion, a better overall player when it comes to yards after the catch. And he has more upside right now because if you look at tight ends, once they get to 31, if you look in our division at Jason Witten, once he hit 31, he started to go on the downturn when it came to overall production, is the future at that position. I wouldn't even throw it out there, but unless somebody comes and They want to give you a high second round pick. I mean, that's the only way I'm even entering that type of conversation, especially with how much cap space they have now that they moved on from Carson Wentz and a lot of these big deals. They seem to have a little bit more money for 2022 and beyond. So don't get out from a player like Dallas Goedert. That's just bad business.
Something that I've seen a lot of people question and want an answer to is why hasn't Nick Sirianni named Jalen Hurts the starter yet?
It's kind of one of those unspoken, like under the table handshake agreements. Like, we know that he is the starter. And if you listen to what he says as well, and what Howie said in their press conference yesterday, they just want to see Jalen take the reins, continue to do what he did in the offseason. Howie praised him for what he did, that he continually showed up, did what he had to do to take all the right steps to take that role. I believe that Nick Sirianni is just trying to instill the idea that competition goes for everybody. Because under Doug Peterson, there was a lot of, hey, you were here before, you succeeded at this position before, we're going to give you your role back. Even though it might not have been earned, there was a lot of friendly handshake agreements that were not great for the team when it came to the production on the field. And when it comes to it, seeing Jalen Hurts respond the way he has inspires me. It should inspire Nick Sirianni. It should inspire all of the Eagles fans, because he didn't respond how Wentz did and just shut down and didn't want to go out there and compete. Jalen Hurts, regardless of where he has been a competitor. He's been in this situation. He's been under Tua. He's been benched in the national championship game and still went out there and competed the next season. So that's what we should want to see. He's going to be quarterback one at the end of the day. I just believe Nick Sirianni wants to preach competition for everybody. And organizations come from the top down. Right at the top of the players is the quarterback. So if one thing goes for the quarterback, it should go for everybody else. So competition should breathe through everybody in this training camp. And I think it's a great ideology that Nick Sirianni has followed so far.
And then we were talking about his competition, and this is exactly what training camp is for. So there's a couple position battles that are going to be pretty fun to watch, I think, on this roster. Which position battle intrigues you the most heading into training camp?
I say that the nickel corner, or the third cornerback slot corner, however you want to kind of quantify that, is the most, I would say, under talked about battle right now, and arguably the biggest battle that we have to look forward to, because after acquiring Steven Nelson, all that depth kind of fell down the roster. Steven Nelson should be opposite Darius Slay on the outside, but now you have a collection of guys in Avonte Maddox, Kevon Seymour, Lavert Hill, who I was high on coming out of Michigan, players that are smaller, fit that role better. And now that you don't have Cravon LeBlanc and Nickel Roby-Coleman, who were the bookends at that position, it is truly a competition to see who's going to come out and take that spot. Because I don't know if Avonte Maddox is in favor under this coaching staff. A guy like Lavert Hill was just claimed off of waivers. Who really knows who he is? Kevon Seymour he's been traveling around the NFL and was playing meaningful minutes for the Eagles last year down the stretch. So this really is the epitome of competition at that nickel corner spot. And some of the best wide receivers in the NFL play in the nickel role or in the slot. So this is a huge one, because you can go out there against Dallas and you throw a cornerback out there that can't defend CeeDee Lamb, it's going to be a rough day. So they really need a player that can go out there opposite Steven Nelson, opposite Darius Slay, and win enough one-on-one matchups to keep them in games. And that position is up to whoever wants to go out there and win it. And I'm truly intrigued to see who does.
On the other side of the ball, you have some crowded position rooms at running back and wide receiver as well. I'm interested to know, what do you think if J.J. Arcega-Whiteside has a chance to make this roster? You know, former second-round pick. He's looking like he could be at the bottom of the depth chart there at receiver.
Yeah, Lou and I did our preview of the training camp and all these positions, and we said wide receiver and running back, there's a lot of depth for once. It's really one of those positions that we kind of just said, okay, these are the 5 or 6 guys we have in camp. These are the 5 or 6 guys we're going to see on the team come the season. At running back, we knew who it was the last couple of years: Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Corey Clement. Now, behind Miles, you have quite the array of high-profile players that bring speed, that bring athleticism, bring different types of punches to that backfield. Jordan Howard and Kerryon Johnson are your bigger, more physical guys that are going to get you those hard yards. But at the same time, you have Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell, who might be better receivers than they are running backs. So you can kind of play chess however you want and line these guys up wherever. So that only kind of pushes JJ even farther down the roster, in my opinion, because I look at Kenny Gainwell as your 5th or 6th receiver right now, being your number 1 or 2 option out of the slot. So where's JJ's spot? I did see a tweet today that Jalen Hurts hit him on a nice 40-yard rollout to the left today. So hopefully he improves a little bit. He's one of my favorite players on this team the last couple of years. I actually bought a jersey right when he got drafted. So that just goes to show how much I love him. I believe there is a role for him, though. Alshon's gone. Travis Fulgham is, I don't know what he's going to be this season. Is he going to be what he was for the first part of 2020 or the second part? They need that bigger body style guy because, hey, if you do trade Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert does go down for a game, where's your size on the outside? So to me, that's where JJ really has to buck up this season and in training camp, solidify yourself as a true red zone option, which you have been drafted for 2 years ago, and finally fill into your role. Because in year 3, this is where the evaluation really comes to a head. Year 3 is where the evaluation really ends for draft picks. Can you be a player or can you not be a player? This is the last straw for JJ. I would love to see him make the roster. It's just going to be a tough uphill climb when you have guys like John Hightower, Quez Watkins on the back end who have more athleticism, who have more speed. And we talk about how Jeffrey Lurie wants to win football games. He wants to pass the football and he wants to be quick. So those are 2 guys that really make it difficult for JJ to make this team. I would love to see it. I would love to see him be a valuable target in the red zone. Just going to come down to competition, Kale. I really believe that that's what this training camp is all about.
So I want to know, do you have a surprise prediction, maybe a notable cut or someone unexpected that might make this roster that people just aren't expecting?
That's a good question. It's so tough to look around all of these units and see who's going to be the odd man out at all of these different positions. I would have to say running back is the one where it's like who's going to be the odd man out there. And I wouldn't be shocked. It's difficult to say, and I know it's not going to be liked by many Eagles fans, but if Boston Scott was not on this roster week 1, it really wouldn't be shocking to me simply because you have drafted a better player in Kenneth Gainwell. He doesn't do many things that Miles Sanders doesn't do. So are you better off keeping a Kerryon Johnson or even a player like Elijah Holyfield, who's been on this roster for a couple seasons on the practice squad, to fill that quote-unquote Jordan Howard role? Or do you keep a Boston Scott and have almost a redundancy at that position where you have a pass-catching back in Miles Sanders, a pass-catching back in Kerryon Johnson, who did that at Detroit, a pass-catching back in Kenneth Gainwell, who simply is a better receiver than he is running back? Could Boston Scott be the odd man out if he has a descent like Corey Clement had? We have seen that players that have had a big role in the backfield all of a sudden are the odd man out. Josh Adams led the team in rushing a few years ago, and he's off the roster come next season. So the running back position is always one that you kind of look at it and say, what is Howie going to do this time? That really leaves us kind of putting our eyebrows up and saying, why did he do that? I wouldn't be surprised if Boston Scott didn't make the team simply because of the numbers. There are so many good players there, and the one thing we can't get held up on is just handing the position back to the player who had it last year or the year before that. There's a new group of guys coming in, a new coaching staff. You really need to see who are going to be the best 11 on both sides of the ball, and don't just give it to a guy because he did it last year. What can you do for me now? Not what did you do for me in the past? It's what have you done for me lately in the NFL?
A whole new regime coming into this training camp. What do you think is one thing people should be keeping their eye out for as we get closer to the season?
In regards to the coaching staff, you're saying? Or
anything that, with the team, anything that you think might be flying under the radar that you think is one thing people should be keeping an eye out for as we get closer to the season?
I would say just keep an eye on how much optionality both sides of the football tend to have this year. Because under Doug Peterson, we saw a lot of the same thing, a lot of that 12 personnel where you have two tight ends out there. It's slow, plotting. They're going to get 8-9 yard receptions over the middle, and things aren't really going to change up. You're not going to see many guys in motion. On offense this year, Nick Sirianni is going to throw motions down the defense's throat. He's going to throw different combinations of, he mentioned 21 personnel where they have two running backs in the backfield, and he mentioned Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell being a speed option there. That's huge. That's an improvement over what they were last year. Now that you have Devontae Smith and Jalen Reagor, two guys that were first-round picks that can play all of the different positions on offense in regards to wide receiver, they're going to be lined up all over the ball. And I think on offense and defense, it's going to be more like chess than checkers. I think we saw a lot of checkers-based play in the past. This year is going to be very chess-like. If you look at what Indy did last year under Jonathan Gannon, who was the cornerbacks coach, but had learned under that system and under Mike Zimmer, two defenses where they really made you guess at who's coming at you up front, who's going to drop into coverages. I believe you're going to see guys like Josh Sweat standing up more than they do with their hand in the dirt. The draft picks like Patrick Johnson that come in and show that they're going to convert to more of an odd style front on defense. It's going to be a lot of moving parts, but it's going to be to the benefit of the Eagles. It's going to make Monday through Saturday for opposing offense and defensive coordinators be miserable. They're not going to be a team that wins 11, 12 games, but they're going to be a team that keeps you on your toes and is going to put up points on offense and has a very good defensive line. And I believe the team is going to deliver the goal of what this coaching staff wants, and both on offense and defense and even special teams. I really believe that they are better now than they were in 2020 for a multitude of different reasons. And just keep an eye on how Nick Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon really gets these guys in a position to play and a position to win. Because I believe Doug Peterson, he really didn't do that in his last 2 years. He didn't put the guys in the best position to succeed. Nick Sirianni has preached that. Jonathan Gannon has preached that. Howie Roseman has preached that. You want to see these 11 guys on offense, 11 guys on defense, and special teams being put week in and week out in the best position to succeed. So just keep an eye out on that. Just see what they're doing in terms of personnel, how they're changing it up, how they're getting different guys in the mix. I really think that is a needed change that we wanted here in Philadelphia.
You can hear Gino breaking down training camp on the Locked On Eagles podcast every day. And as training camp goes on, we're only a few weeks out here from August 12th, the Eagles debut preseason game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can catch that right here on Fox 43 at 7:30. And you can catch the Locked On Eagles podcast anywhere you get your podcast. Thanks for joining us today, Gino.
Of course, it'll be great to hear the link filled up when they go against Pittsburgh, and I'm excited to see you guys covering it. And make sure you guys tune in to Fox 43 and the Locked On Eagles podcast, of course.